Thousands of families were displaced and public amenities destroyed by bandit gangs, some of whom converted school classrooms into permanent dormitories for bandit families. To arrest possible breakdown of law and order, a police-led security operation with the support of the military was declared on 13th February 2023. It has been 19 months of sustained war on bandits in the north of our country. The strategic decision to gazette as disturbed and dangerous remote and difficult terrain, gorges, escarpments, and caves where bandits retreated to hide after attacking, robbing, and killing innocent civilians proved to be the game changer. Heavily armed bandits were flushed out from these areas in a process that lasted several months. Their outdated gimmicks of taunting security forces and sometimes staging daylight raids were eventually crushed through intelligence-led operations, superior firepower, and efficient operational and tactical outputs that resulted in the neutralization of dangerous bandit commanders and their spiritual influencers. 19 months after President Ruto ordered the most consequential security operation against banditry ever to take place in northern Kenya, the infrastructure that had sustained banditry for over 4 decades has been suppressed and dismantled. Bandit gangs and their enablers have been overpowered and scattered, despite occasional feeble attempts to resuscitate this dangerous crime against the people of Kenya. Scores of schools in Baringo, Samburu, Elgeyo Marakwet, Turkana, West Pokot, and Laikipia counties have been reopened. Mokogodo Forest, Sieku Valley, Burat Hills, Korkor, and Arabal Hills, Tandale Valley, Gelecha Valley, Malaso Escarpment, Kurkur, Pura, and other previous bandit hideouts are today pacified. As I relinquish the reins at the Interior Ministry, I am grateful to God, to the commanders and officers of various security agencies, and to the communities for their help as we look forward to sustaining the prevailing peace in these previously bandit-infested areas of our country. I will forever cherish the useful input of communities profoundly represented by the Under the Tree conversations I had with elders and residents at the foot of Arabal Hills in Baringo, the Kolowa Bridge at the intersection of Baringo and Elgeyo Marakwet counties, and in Lokori and Nadapal in Turkana County. I desire to live to see these parts of our country completely free from the terror of bandits and opened up for socio-economic development as Kenya marches into the future. The strides that we have made in the fight against terrorism, banditry, and other organized crimes received a shot in the arm from the Police Equipment Modernization Program, which was initiated in early 2023, following the orders of President Ruto to modernize the operational and tactical equipment of our security agencies. The 37 billion shilling 5-year program is underway, with 7.6 billion shillings already spent to acquire armored personnel carriers, mine-resistant, ambush-protected vehicles, personal protection equipment for the police, as well as sophisticated weaponry to provide to protect our nation. Fellow Kenyans, by September 2022, our country's infrastructure for the production and supply of Kenyan passports had completely collapsed owing to the breakdown of printing equipment, huge supplier debts, and chronic corruption cartels that took advantage of the situation to extort money from desperate applicants. After many months of reorganizing and financing arrangements, as well as personnel deployment at the Immigration Department, I am proud to report that as I leave the ministry, the government has been able to acquire modern printers and all the pending supplier debts have been paid. The passport production and delivery waiting period has been reduced from more than 12 months in 2022 to 7 days at present. The backlog of 724,000 passports has been cleared, and the challenge now is to expedite the delivery process to clear the 85,000 uncollected passports that are ready. As I leave the reins of the ministry, I am proud to report that the corruption cartels of staff and members of the public that used to harass passport applicants have been dismantled, and 17 ringleaders, including immigration officers, are facing ongoing criminal prosecution. As I exit, I am convinced beyond doubt that the milestone of reducing the waiting period from the current 7 days to 3 days by the close of this year remain feasible. In the days ahead, we must confront and succeed in reforming the institutions of our national security. At the orders of President Ruto and in compliance with the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, the process of reimagining and refashioning Kenya's security institutions began in earnest on 21st December 2022, when the Presidential Task Force on Reforms of the National Police Service, the Kenya Prison Service, and the National Youth Service was established. While the work of the task force took longer than expected due to the expansive terms of reference, its final report has already been presented to the President. And one of the last actions I took before I left the ministry was to gazette the National Steering Committee under the leadership of the Principal Secretary for Internal Security, with a mandate to ensure full realization and implementation of the groundbreaking proposal with the dictates of our progressive 2010 Constitution. Tenure in office, I have benefited from direct support and encouragement of President Ruto. I thank him for giving me the privilege to serve my country as the Interior Minister for an uninterrupted 2 years. I am most grateful to the Principal Secretaries and officers of all ranks within the State Departments and other agencies that fall under the Ministry of Interior for great teamwork, support, and encouragement. To our security officers, especially those assigned the sensitive duty of protecting the country from terror, banditry, and other organized crimes, I salute you all for your selfless and patriotic service to our country. I send warm greetings and best wishes to all officers, especially those in far-flung forward operating bases. Our officers in the multinational security support mission in Haiti, as well as the ranks of the National Government Administration Officer System, the NGAO system, with whom I have developed close and cordial working relationships. Will of mysterious disappearances, abductions, and femicide. Goodbye. Republic of Kenya. May we remain one nation of one people, united by our flag and the national anthem of Kenya. Thank you.
My name is Eric. What do you speak of about your during your reign as the speak about it? Thank you.
Yes, as you have, thank you very much for that concern. As I have said towards the last part of my statement, I have demonstrated how for 2 years, every day of my life, I have struggled to secure the country from crime and from people who would have caused us harm. And I have told my journey, the places I've been and what has took me there, the work I did in immigration and other places. At the end of my statement, I have said, as I exit that office, I'm exiting at a time when there are reports of cases of mysterious disappearances, abductions, and femicide. And I have handed over the responsibility of cracking down on those emerging reports of crime. And I wish him well, and I know he will succeed. The same way in the past, I've been able to handle those other national security challenges. Remember, these are challenges that we've witnessed in the last few months, and already we had gotten ourselves on a place where we had come up with a strategy of cracking down on this criminal behavior, the same way we succeeded, even with the Nairobi urban crime, which was quite a spiral at the time we took over, and which today is manageable. And therefore, these are developments over the last few weeks, maybe a couple of months. We had laid the ground on how to deal with both cracking down on criminals who are in that space of femicide or abducting people, and also a framework for accountability of any rogue officer or officers who will be involved. And therefore, that should be the task of the next minister going forward. I have no doubt I have done my best every day of my life, and there is no day I have slept without asking myself what I have done to make our country safer. Before, because of time, allow me now to transit and speak on my assumption of office to the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Those of you who are in the swearing in, you realized I just made some of the cuff remarks deliberately because it would not have been appropriate at that time to give lengthy speeches because of the official context of the day. So today is the day when I wanted to at least make a statement on my assumption of office. Fellow Kenyans, on 1st November 2024, as you are aware, I assumed the office of the Deputy President. That day was and shall remain the most momentous and significant day of my life. After serving my country for a quarter of a century as a law lecturer, legal practitioner, senator, majority leader of the Senate, deputy speaker of the Senate, and most recently as the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, I now take over office as the third Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. It remains astounding how a son of Kenya, born some 52 years ago in Tharaka, a remote part of the then Meru district, and in a humble homestead of a rural clergyman and his housewife spouse, could eventually get the opportunity to serve this country in the esteemed and high office of Deputy President of the Republic. My assumption to the office of Deputy President has presented me with an opportunity to reflect on our country's past, present, and future. In my reflections, during the past 1 week, I have come to the profound realization that Kenya, our homeland, is a country like no other. Its charm, the industry of its people, our fine weather, our culture, and our breathtaking topography are unmatched. It is gratifying to see millions of patriotic Kenyans work hard every day, waking up early, sleeping late, to make a honest living, eat from the sweat of their brow, and build the country that they call home. While it is true that formidable challenges confront us today, it is also true that we always find a way to surmount obstacles and protect our country and its people from the shocks of the modern world. Where a tiny number among us has tainted our country's image, the same has been repudiated by the exploits of millions of honest and patriotic, focused Kenyans who love this nation enough to protect it from the risks on its survival. Indeed, Kenya is a covenant country, blessed with an industrious people and an incredible array of natural resources requisite for the creation of wealth enough for all its people. We remain eternally grateful to the heroes and heroines who have ensured Kenya remains the blessed nation that it is. As we reflect on our challenges, let us capitalize on the jolting of these challenges to write a new, better, and brighter chapter for Kenya. We should heal our divisions, solidify our national unity, and pursue our country's goals as brothers and sisters, joined by the permanent bonds of our common heritage and our common future. I have had occasion in the past few days to ponder on how the orderly transfer of authority as called for in our Constitution takes place seamlessly in our country. I realize that my ascent to the office of Deputy President has taken place on the back of a hotly contested constitutional process. For weeks, the country was glued to parliamentary and judicial events whose completion is a testament, or was a testament, to our country's democratic credentials and the integrity of our constitutional institutions. I am humbled to be of service to this country as its deputy president, and to formally take the reins to support and assist President William Ruto and the team he leads towards the realization of his vision to deliver the transformation of Kenya. It is an honor to serve my country at such a time as this, when Kenya is moving forward and upwards to the heights that our forefathers envisaged when they fought for the establishment of our republic. The founders of our nation and those who fought to make us a free people triumphed over the oppressive chains of colonialism, not only because they worked hard for it, but because they remained united. Today, as in the past, the quest for national unity is undeniably the most profound aspiration animating our national conversation. Why? Because we are coming from a rough patch where we had been enthralled in a rather unfortunate conversation about distinction, difference, and division. At a time when the country desperately requires a rallying call to pull together to steer our nation to greatness during these challenging times. Koitalel Somoei, Dedan Kimathi, Mekatilili Wamenza, and later Jomo Kenyatta, Ronan Gala, Oginga Odinga, Masinde Muliro, and many others worked hard to set free the whole of Kenya, not parts of Kenya where they were born or raised. They refused to see themselves as liberators of their places of birth, choosing instead to consider themselves as brothers and sisters connected by the common past of their ancestry and the shared future of the generations that would come after them. We learn from these gallant sons and daughters of Kenya that for us to defend our freedom, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and economic transformation, for us to overcome inequality, poverty, and the need in our midst, we must harness and aggregate the collective daily struggles of ordinary Kenyans for our common good. For the aspiration of forging a united Kenya to materialize, we must accept each other, recognize our equality, accept that diversity and difference among us are for building rather than destroying us. A united nation is better equipped to deal with the challenges and overcome the obstacles we face in an increasingly complex, unpredictable, and insecure world. Kenya's viability is guaranteed only if its diverse components and segments converge in pursuit of common ideals, notwithstanding our linguistic, ethnic, religious, or political orientations. As I assume the functions of the esteemed office of the Deputy President of Kenya, I pledge to support and assist President Ruto to canvass, defend, and accelerate national unity, but also to canvass, defend, and accelerate the implementation of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda on which his administration was elected 2 years ago. I will work with my colleagues in the cabinet, as I have done in my previous role during the past 2 years, as we look forward to opening a new chapter in our collective effort to deliver the economic transformation and empowerment of the people of Kenya to realize better standards of living. The government has made significant strides towards the transformation of our food security situation, health, education, as well as stabilizing spikes on prices of essential household commodities since September 2022. The government's resolve to introduce a higher education funding model that is student-centered, and to roll out universal health, affordable housing, and other initiatives require constant communication for public buy-in, input, and feedback in the spirit of a people-centered delivery of our country's development agenda. I have no doubt whatsoever that well-crafted public-private partnership projects are essential for the realization of strategic public sector infrastructure development projects and will cushion our country from incurring unsustainable debt for financing our country's development needs. As we pursue Kenya's economic transformation and strengthen the bonds of our national unity, now is the time to ask every citizen to introspect on their contribution towards the actualization of the Kenya we all want to live in. The values of honesty, hard work, patriotism, family, and all other values of our civilization, faithfully transmitted through generations, makes it possible for us to transform this country into a more inclusive, equitable, and cohesive nation in which every citizen is able to live free from fear and want. A Kenya where every citizen has a realistic opportunity to attain good health, wealth, and safety. Our ambitious ideal for a new Kenya will be actualized by sacrifice, hard work, pulling together, eschewing the blame game, and loving Kenya more than our subnational affiliations. It is possible to converge our diverse subnational interest into broad collective national interest as the surest way of realizing Kenya's viability as a solid, respected, competitive, devolved, modern, democratic centuries to come. Only a country of opportunity that Kenya is can cause the little village of Irunduni, tucked in the outskirts of the unassuming hamlet of Mukodhima in semi-arid Tharaka, to produce the country's deputy president. I grew up in a competitive environment, learned to manage scarce resources, raised by peasant parents, and introduced to the values of respect for others and respect for authority, the love for God, and the love for country, considering other people's needs before my own needs. These values would later be firmed up through my education journey in the schools and the universities I would attend later in life. That it has been possible for me to come this far confirms that in this country there is no reason anymore why a child born in Moyale, Loitoktok, Nyahururu, Lodwar, Nyansiongo, Malindi, Ugenya, Kadhonzweni, Elwak, Kimilili, Lungalunga, Marara, or anywhere else within this great country cannot aspire to rise to any office. I am truly blessed to be a son of Kenya. May God bless and protect our dear country, our homeland, the Republic of Kenya. May we remain one nation of one people, united by our emblems, the map, the flag, and the national anthem of Kenya. Thank you and God bless you. I'll take maximum 2, please.
Thank you, Excellency. My name is Melita Oletenges for Citizen TV. My question is, you are stepping into this new role at a time when counties have not had a disbursement of funds for about 4 months, and it is causing a cash crunch there. And now that you're going to also be the chair of IBEC, how do you tend to accelerate this and ensure that services in the counties roll as they should be?
Kithure?
My name is Sydney Chazima. My question goes to what you've mentioned about national interests. And recently, while performing your duties as the Deputy President, you spoke before the judiciary at the 12 years anniversary for the Supreme Court. And you mentioned that there need to be a place where the courts consider the national interest as opposed to the public interest. Someone may misconstrue this as the executive trying to exert its pressure on the courts. What would you make of this?
Thank you. Those are very good questions. I would like to respond to them as follows. It is true there is a bit of cash disbursement delay for counties, which is unfortunate. But I think the context for that situation is that this country in the last 2 years have come from a very difficult macroeconomic situation, and it has taken 2 years of hard work under the leadership of President William Ruto to tackle the macroeconomic stability of the country, stabilize the shelling, stabilize essential food prices of essential commodities, including fuel, and so forth and so on. For the first time this month, inflation is at 2.7%, the lowest in 17 years. The last time the inflation was at that level was in 2007, just before the post-election election violence, at the peak of President Kibaki's best economic situation. And therefore, the heavy lifting that the country has had to do is now behind us. We can only do better. I am going to convene as soon as possible the consultative forum under the auspices of IBEC, and I believe the short-term issue around disbursements should be tackled in a more sustainable manner so that we don't just release what is outstanding, but we find mechanisms of ensuring that we don't have similar delays in the days ahead. So that is something that I'm seized of. Just the way we have tackled other issues and economic challenges, we're going to tackle the disbursement to counties promptly. And that is what the Constitution requires, that the national government must ensure that counties receive their funds within the required time. Secondly and lastly, I've been asked to comment about the